Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. Well, today's second video, that takes us to around the 29th of August. So going towards the very end of the month. And we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. They run to around a couple of weeks. That takes us into the first week of September, of course. So we are now rapidly running down the clock on August and also on the summer of 2019. Been a very strange summer, been lots of wild swings within the weather going on. And also going to aim, though, on possibly a relatively quiet note, although there is still quite a bit of uncertainty about this whole bank holiday weekend period that we've got coming up and going into next week, and more about that in a moment. Just say that the first video up today was the JMA seasonal model update, so that's looking at the next 3 months, September, October, November, with the Japanese model, and that's a full autumn look ahead, therefore. So that video is on the homepage at gazweathervids.com. Just look at that when you're done with this one. Coming up tonight, we're going to have the next bank holiday weekend update. That's the 5th bank holiday weekend update that'll review tonight. Right, so we'll start with the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts from Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF here on the top, and the GFS, which we'll have in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 18,000 feet is an area in the absolute high pressure and low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, yellow, orange, and red to high pressure. These are the main flow charts for the 7 to 10 day time frame. Takes us to pretty much the end of the month, the 29th of August. So we can see that with the ECM, we've got this big ridge of above average height centred to the east of the country, and below average heights, a trough of below average heights in the Atlantic to our west. Fairly strong jet stream indicated by black lines coming across the Atlantic and then rising northwards into northern parts of Europe. It tells us that for a while high pressure is in control of the weather, but as you get through to the 7 to 10 day time frame, actually the ECM will start breaking that high pressure down a little bit and start turning us rather more unsettled. The GFS is quite significantly different, actually. So it does have that area of above average heights to our east, but it's further east compared to the ECM. It also has an area of above average heights to our west-southwest, however. The jet stream doing something a little bit like that. So it's a very different sort of scenario with high pressure more centred to our west. But one thing they are both agreeing on, though, is that we've got generally an Atlantic flow coming up into kind of the end of the month. So it's not going to be particularly hot, and over time we may find the Atlantic beginning to get a little bit more active as we get through to the very end of the month, possibly into the start of September. We might find things going just a little bit more unsettled, perhaps. Right, have a look at the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. And that's Salford in the North England today. So red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Salford. And still pretty cool at the moment, still a bit below average with the upper air temperatures. And it is a bit cool on the surface too. Over the next 2 or 3 days, temperatures will slowly start to lift up a little bit, but still generally staying a bit on the cool side, not until we get through to the end of the week and into the weekend, but we start seeing temperatures then going properly above average. That's both in terms of the upper air and surface temperatures. After that, we've got a lot of scatter now appearing for the closing days of August and into the first week of September. So we have these ensemble members up here that are very mild ensemble members. They're warm ensemble members, actually. They're going to 15 Celsius a day, 250 HPA. Conversely, though, we have almost an equal number that are down here, and they're much cooler. So the white line is sort of the ensemble mean, so that's grouping together all of the individual lines of spaghetti and coming up with a mean line for those different ensemble members. It's a little bit on the milder side of average, a little bit on the warmer side of average, but you can't always go by the mean line. And what we are seeing there is a great deal of uncertainty, really, for the very closing days of August and into the first week of September. That's probably down to the positioning of any ridging. If that ridge of high pressure just begins to pull a little bit away from us into the middle of the Atlantic, then we will start to let in cooler air from the north, and of course that will start to lower the temperature quite a bit. It's too far away at the moment to have any confidence about where we're going for the end of August and the beginning of September in terms of the temperature and also really in terms of the pattern. A lot of uncertainty is in there. What we can see from precipitation is that there's going to be a reasonable amount of dry weather in the next week, but not totally dry. There will be some rain at times, particularly there around the 22nd of August. It's going for some wet weather, so that's around the middle part of the week. And then again over the weekend, this bank holiday weekend proving a real source of trouble to try and pin down the detail on that. And of course I'll get to the generic charts in a moment. You'll be able to see why it's quite a confused picture for this bank holiday weekend. But it's not entirely dry, it's not entirely settling down over the next week. And even in the start of September, there are some precipitation spikes creeping through them. Temperature anomalies from the 19th to 27th of August are very close to average. So for the north, it's almost bang on average. For England and Wales, it's just a little bit milder than average. Certainly not a particularly big deviation, however. Precipitation anomaly showing a north-south splits over Scotland and Northern Ireland. It's a bit wetter than average for England and Wales. It's actually a little bit drier than average there. So this is how the generic chart's looking. This is the GFS on Thursday. So the GFS has a ridge of above average heights, or has a ridge of high pressure, let's say, extending in from the Azores into southern and central parts of Europe. Low pressure is out to the northwest, and we're bringing in this westerly wind. So a bit of a north-south split for England and Wales, a lot of dry weather. For Scotland and Northern Ireland, probably quite unsettled still. That's Friday, again north-south split, more unsettled in the north, lower pressure there, higher pressure down in the south. So again, just this idea is never completely settling down, particularly so in northern parts of the country. That's Saturday, so that ridge across the south is weakening a little bit on Saturday, and we've got this area of low pressure beginning to, or it's really a trough, I suppose, of low pressure beginning to move in from the northern part of the Atlantic. That could bring some showery conditions with it from Saturday through to Sunday. But as that trough sort of drops south and east and begins to move away, the ridge starts to build back in from the southwest. So that gets us to bank holiday Monday, which is Monday the 26th of August. And for the south, we've got a nice ridge building in from the Atlantic. So that's bringing mainly dry, fine conditions for next Monday into England and Wales. But for Scotland and Northern Ireland, probably still a bit unsettled with wind coming in from the west. Beyond that, we go into towards day 10. Keep quite a bit of anticyclonic weather going. This is accounting for the scatter within the GFS ensembles, this scenario. So where we are at day 10, which is Thursday the 29th of August, I've got this ridge over and just to the west of the country. You'll notice there's a trough in over Scandinavia, a big trough of low pressure, and cool air is sort of plunging southwards into Scandinavia. Now we're just on the periphery of that, and it depends how far west this area of high pressure goes, how far that way it goes, as to where we start to pull down these cooler winds from the north. So that accounts for the scatter, I think, within the GFS ensembles. If we keep that high pressure sort of centred over the top of the country around day 10, then it will be relatively warm, both with the upper and surface temperatures. But if that high pressure just pulls out into the middle of the Atlantic, then we'll start to open the door to cooler and probably more showery north to northwesterly winds. Heading up towards the end of the month, that's how we look. So over time, high pressure is inching its way away from us. The centre of it is moving into the middle of the Atlantic and actually hints at it going up towards Greenland as well. That trough is still sort of over Scandinavia though. So sort of in between really there, high pressure in the middle of the Atlantic and low pressure up over Scandinavia. The ridge is just about holding on by its fingertips to the UK and to Ireland. But you could envisage quite easily that we could start to pull cooler and more showery winds in from the north with that. Into the opening days of September, that's how we look. So we finish up this GFS run on Wednesday the 4th of September, still just about under a ridge actually, but over time it looks like this high pressure going further and further north. It's actually starting to hint at becoming a bit of a northern blocking feature heading up towards Greenland. And if we could roll on any further than this, I suspect what we'll find is that this ridge would strengthen around here. This low around Iceland would be pushed southwards. This ridge which in the west of Europe will sort of break apart. Some of the ridge will go over there, and some of the ridge will go over there. And we will probably find ourselves going into, with this trough of low pressure moving southwards, we're probably find ourselves going into quite a cool and unsettled sort of northwesterly flow, with low pressure sinking down across the country. If we could go any further than that, which we can't, that's as far as we get to Wednesday the 4th of September. So how the GEM is looking. So again, we've got this north-south split around the middle of the week. High pressure is bringing a fair amount of dry weather to England and Wales, quite warm. Low pressure is bringing more unsettled conditions with showers and longer spells of rain to the north. The high pressure strengthens as we go through to the end of the week and into weekend. So that's Saturday. More or less all of us by this point are under that ridge of high pressure on Saturday. The high bend begins to weaken a little bit as we go through to Sunday. So again, there's probably some sort of trough that's moving in from the northwest. A little bit of a dip within the jet stream, bringing a bit of energy in from the North Atlantic. But then to Bank Holiday Monday, the ridge begins to extend back in again. So at the moment, and this is chopping and changing from run to run, but at the moment we could be looking at a mostly dry and warm day on Saturday, maybe a bit more showering and rather cooler on Sunday, and then back to drier and warmer conditions again, perhaps for Bank Holiday Monday. Now, as we go through the course of next week, what we find is that the ridge again, it continues across England and Wales, always looks a little bit more unsettled up across Scotland and Northern Ireland. And that's how we finish at day 10 with the GEM. So more or less under high pressure. The GEM is actually a warmer and drier run for next week, a warmer and drier model run for next week compared to what the GFS is showing. And then we've got the ECMWF again on Thursday. High pressure is bringing a mainly dry day down in the south, but the north does look quite unsettled with showers or longer spells of rain. That's Friday. Again, a bit of a north-south split. Looks quite unsettled for Scotland. Looks mostly dry and warm for England and Wales. I reckon temperatures could get to around 25, 26 degrees at the end of the week, knocking on the door of 80 Fahrenheit, somewhere like the middle of London. That's Saturday, and again, high pressure dominates across England and Wales in particular, bringing lots of dry and warm weather. It does look a little bit more unsettled out to the north and west, I have to say. Then that's Sunday. That's a little interruption, perhaps more showery conditions as the ridge begins to break apart. Just temporarily, probably, but ridge breaks apart on Sunday, allows this trough to begin to dig in. That could bring some showery conditions through the middle part of the weekend. And then we go through to Bank Holiday Monday. Now, the ECM, we saw it on the high dominant flow charts, actually has quite a deep area of low pressure in the middle of the North Atlantic, just there. That's a very deep area of low pressure, actually, for the time of year. So this ridge, therefore, it's struggling to build as much on Bank Holiday Monday. Nevertheless, it probably would bring a mainly dry day to England and Wales, but wet and windy weather would be threatening Scotland and Northern Ireland. That's Tuesday. So on Tuesday, again, we've got a deep area of low pressure out to the northwest Scotland. I think the central pressure with that must be going down to around 970 millibars. So that's a very, very deep area of low pressure, probably over the top. For the time of year, it's a bit difficult to believe low pressure or pressure will get that low in the North Atlantic. But if it's right, it's a very, very deep area of low pressure from the 26th to 27th of August. So that will bring the threat of wet and windy weather to the north and west. England and Wales still just about holding on to this ridge of high pressure up to day 10. Looks like it's gradually starting to turn more unsettled. Again, we saw it on the high anomaly flow chart of Penn State University. Low pressure is heading in off the Atlantic with the ECMWF chart at day 10. So again, in the detail of all of this, there is quite a bit of uncertainty. What we can say is that up to Bank Holiday weekend, going to be an increasing trend towards high pressure. Probably a reasonable amount of dry weather over Bank Holiday weekend, but there could be a more unsettling interruption in the middle of it on Sunday. And then next week, probably for a while, high pressure will come back, but it probably turns more and more unsettled as we head towards the closing stages of the month. These are the options that we've got on the table within the ECM ensembles today at day 10. which is the 29th of August. So we have 18 members of the ECM ensembles, including the control and operational run. The operational run is the run we're just looking at that have below average heights, low pressure up to the north, above average heights, high pressure to our southeast. Gradually starting to turn things more unsettled as we get towards day 10. Then we have 13 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure just sitting to our east. That's a drier, warmer option, bringing the wind from the east under high pressure conditions. We have 11 that have a mid-Atlantic ridge going up towards Greenland and a trough of below average height sinking through Scandinavia. That's sort of what the GFS operational run was showing. That would be pulling down, or hinting at, let's say, with the GFS operational run, that would be pulling down cooler winds from the north and from the northwest. And then 9 members of the ECM ensembles look like that. More or less have a ridge over the top of the country at day 10. Low pressure up to the north. That's a warm, dry option as well. So you can see how the GFS has that split within the upper air temperatures. It's all down to the exact positioning of the ridge of high pressure. We get through to 2 weeks' time, and lots of options on the table in 2 weeks' time. It gets us to the beginning of September, telling us that by early September, really all options are on the table. This is getting us to 3rd of September. So we have 12 members of the ECM ensembles with a trough of low pressure over top of the country during the start of September, and a ridge in the Atlantic going up towards Greenland. That's very cool and unsettled to start September. We have 11 members of the ECM ensembles with a ridge of high pressure centred just to the east of us. That's pulling up warm, or potentially even very warm, southerly winds. We have 9 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure just to our west. That's an unsettled option. Northern blocking up here as well. So the jet stream is pushed southwards. That's an unsettled scenario. 7 have high pressure just centred to the west of us. So that's more settled. It's not particularly unsettled with that, but it is a drier option, but probably quite a cool option. The winds will be coming in from the northwest with that one. 6 with above average heights to the south of Greenland and low pressure more or less over the country up to Scandinavia. So obviously that's a more unsettled option too. And then another 6 has high pressure from Scandinavia stretched out to the north of Scotland and going over to south of Greenland. Low pressure is to our south. That could be quite a wet option for England and Wales. Probably a drier option for Scotland, and it would be quite cool as well, because although the wind is coming from an easterly direction, although we've got wind coming from an easterly direction, the origins of the air will be kind of like north of east with that. So it would be a cool, and potentially for the south, quite a wet option. All options are on the table, obviously, for the beginning of September. And again, it is all down to the exact placement of the area of high pressure. Where is this high pressure going as we get through to the end of August and the beginning of September? I suspect that will be the focus of the videos in the week ahead or so. CFSV2 means the 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first week period will take us from the 19th to 25th of August. The coming week has below average heights to the north, above average heights building to the south and also to the southeast. Jet stream is gradually being pushed a little bit further northwards, trying to go into a warmer and drier spell of weather. This is week 2, the 26th of August to the 1st of September, with below average heights just out to the northwest of the country, above average heights to our east, blocking around Greenland. A little bit on the unsettled side, actually, that for the last days of August, particularly so for northern parts of the country, could be a little bit on the unsettled side. Then we want to go through to there. So that takes us to week 3, which is going to be the 2nd to the 8th of September. This one has above average heights in the Atlantic, mid-Atlantic ridge heading up towards Greenland, below average heights to the east of the country. That's bringing down probably quite a cool northerly wind, actually, northwesterly winds. I wouldn't have thought particularly unsettled because the Atlantic is blocked off, so we wouldn't be getting big areas of low pressure coming in from the Atlantic. It's not particularly wet, but it is quite cool, and for northern parts of the country it might be a little bit showery as well on those northwesterly winds. And then that's week 2. It's the 9th to the 15th of September. The above average heights then sinking further south into the Atlantic. Below average heights around Iceland. And it just looks like we're going to rather a flat westerly flow. That could actually be turning a little bit unsettled, starting to bring low pressure in from off the North Atlantic. Not much sign of particularly warm weather through the first half of September there. Temperature anomalies are looking like this. This is week 1 temperature anomaly going from the 19th to 25th of August, close to average for many parts of the country in the week ahead. Week 2 isn't all that warm either, so this is the 26th of August to the 1st of September. It's a little bit warmer than average for England and Wales, close to average for Scotland and Northern Ireland. To be honest, a few days ago, we were expecting this final week or 10 days of August to be quite a bit warmer than this. So definitely the warmth has been scaled back a little bit, certainly in terms of what the CFS is showing. That's week 3. Actually goes a little bit cooler than average. That's just a wind swinging into the north, of course. This is the 2nd to the 8th of September. And the temperature anomaly is dropping to a little bit below average, particularly interestingly for England and Wales. Most parts of Europe are looking quite cool as well in week 3. And then week 4 goes a bit warmer. This is the 9th to the 15th of September. This is the wind is sort of swinging into the west. Temperature anomalies then, not a big deviation, but it does go a little bit above average for some parts of the country. Precipitation anomalies from the 19th to the 25th of August. So for the north and west, it's a bit wetter than average. For the southwest, it's a little bit drier than average. Struggling to settle things down though in the weekend, and for a while, a few days ago, did look as though this last week to 10 days of August was going to be quite a warm, potentially even very warm and dry sort of last week to 10 days. But we are struggling, particularly for the north, to turn things drier and warmer here. For the south, we do turn it a bit drier and warmer, but probably not as much as we was expecting a few days ago. Week 2 is the 26th of August to the 1st of September. Close to average precipitation for England and Wales, a little bit wetter than average for Scotland. Week 3, precipitation is the 2nd to the 8th of August, close to average. Signal is weakening now, of course, as it always does. And then week 4 is also close to average. Really, it has no signal there. So it's inconclusive, really, where we're going for the end of August and the beginning of September. Before then, we are going to have a few days of drier, warmer conditions. But as we get through towards the end of the month and the beginning of September, there is a little bit of evidence here that we might actually start to move this high pressure towards the North Atlantic and towards Greenland. And if we do, then we will start to pull in cooler and potentially showery northwesterly winds. So early September might not be quite as warm and dry as a lot of people may have been anticipating perhaps a few days ago. Finally, I'll just leave you with this. This is a bit of fun. This is from a tweet from our good friend Michael Ventris. You all always know when when winter is coming, when we start showing you tweets from forecaster Michael Ventris. Michael is with Weather Services International and also weather.com, I believe. So the tweet says, FYI, for your information, CanSIPS has fixed their model initialization issue, and wow, talk about high latitude blocking this upcoming winter. This would translate to a cold and snowy winter for the major population centers in the US, Europe and Asia, if correct. Hashtag winter 2020. I'm going to leave the link to Mike Ventris' Twitter in the description at YouTube. If you give him a follow if you would like to do that. And let's just show you the chart that Mike was tweeting. And this is it. This is the CanSIPS 500 millibar height anomaly chart for December 2019. I'm not sure what January and February looks like, but if it's anything like this, it does look very cold. Hints, perhaps, of a bit of a December to remember version 2 there, with high pressure over Greenland back into the North Pole. Look where the troughs are. So Mike Ventris was saying about cold into the major population areas. So we have one trough here into the east of America. So that's bringing cold air out of Canada down into East America. Another trough is over the west of Europe and through central parts of Europe. So that's bringing very cold air down into Central and Western Europe. UK is included. And they have another trough, a third trough over here, and that's sort of Asia, so that's kind of like Japan and into China, that sort of area. And again, that's bringing cold air down out of Siberia into Asia. So we have three lobes of cold with those three troughs through the mid-latitudes. And the blocking centred over North Pole. That's a classic pattern to get cold on both sides of the Atlantic and also Asia included. There is an idea, I know some people have the idea, that if it's very cold in America, especially in the eastern part of America, that we will not be cold in the UK and in the west of Europe because it'll blow up the jet stream and bring areas of low pressure in off the Atlantic. And that does happen quite a lot. But if you get the blocking in the right position, if you get the blocking centred over Greenland, just there, then you can get it cold on both sides of the Atlantic. And a lot of the coldest winters that we've had in the history of UK winters have coincided with cold on the other side of the Atlantic too, into eastern parts of America. Anyway, obviously that's just a bit of fun. It's so far out, but that's going to change several times more than likely over the next few months. But if that was to come off for December, then we would be hinting at the December to remember version 2. Finally, if you're enjoying the videos at the moment, please can you consider becoming a patron for Gaz Webbins. We have 64 patrons. So hello and a big thank you to our 64 patrons. Hope you're enjoying the content that we're producing at Gaz Webbins. If you would like to become a patron for Gaz Webbins and join the 64 patrons, hoping to get 70 patrons by Christmas, but not sure we'll be able to do that. But if you would like to become a patron for Gaz Webbins, then all you need to do is come to Gaz Webbins' Patreon page, sign up for a Patreon account, and then you give an ongoing monthly donation to Gaz Webbins. It can be anything from $1 a month upwards. You pool in with the rest of the patrons, and by doing that, you will become a patron for Gaz Webbins. So we'll give you a mention in the videos. We'll say thanks so much for doing that. There is the alternative of PayPal, so if you'd like to give a donation to Gaz Webbins, then all you need to do is come to Gaz Webbins' PayPal page, sign into your PayPal account, and then give whatever donation you would like to Gaz Webbins. Whether you do it through Patreon or PayPal, you're going to get a mention in the videos. We'll say thank you so much for doing that. As long as you want one or two people have chosen to stay anonymous with this, and that's absolutely fine. If that's what you'd like to do, then just leave a little note with your donation or send an email or something. There are various ways you can get in touch with us. So just let us know you'd like to stay anonymous, and that's fine. We'll just say thank you to this anonymous person. Of course, you might want to shout out for your website or business. Go to your business website, something like that, if you would like the mention in that format. So it's whatever you want, really. We're very, very happy to give a mention however you would like it. So big thank you to all of our patrons, big thank you to all of our donors for doing that. Right, so that's the end of today's second video. We'll be back this evening with a look at the late summer bank holiday weekend. You'll have gathered from this video, but even now, we're only a few days away from the bank holiday weekend now, but even now there is quite a bit of uncertainty in terms of the exact detail of this bank holiday weekend, but we will try and pin down the detail for you a little bit this evening. That's all for now, though, and thanks for watching.